Here at Arlington Stadium as the Rangers and the Baltimore Orioles get set to finish out this three-game weekend series. Now the starting lineup for the Baltimore Orioles. Brady Anderson, the center fielder, leads off. He's followed by the left fielder, Randy Milligan. Then the shortstop, Cal Ripken. Glenn Davis is the cleanup hitter. Then the DH is Sam Horn. Craig Worthington at third, hitting sixth. Then it's right fielder Joe Orsulak, the catcher Ernie Witt, and second baseman Juan Bell.
And defensively for the Rangers as Ryan heads to the mound. Revolving door policy in left field. Kevin Reimer in Pettis back in center. Sierra in right. Buechele at third. Jeff Hewson getting through the injury, back starting at short today. Franco at second. Palmeiro at first. And Gino Petralli behind the plate. And on the mound, Nolan Ryan. Nolan making his second start of. And wish I had some more positive things to say about this start against Baltimore, but Nolan has his worst career numbers against the Baltimore Orioles. Did not pitch last year, 5-16 lifetime, and has not won a game going back to 1976. But I think if you look through the years, Ryan, before going to the National League in the late 70s, pitched against a lot of outstanding Baltimore Oriole teams in the 70s. Had a pretty good positive number. And you got to think that the big right-hander knows exactly what he has to do today, and today's a new day and liable to turn it around and start changing his numbers against the Orioles.
Now, Nolan has a great day on which to work here in Arlington. Very, very comfortable afternoon. 79 degrees, moderate humidity at 50%, winds out of the southwest, about 10 miles an hour. And the forecast, more beautiful sunny weather. Umpires this afternoon, Steve Palermo is behind the plate. Mike Riley at first. Larry Young is at second base, and crew chief is Rich Garcia over third.
Well, that's probably the best crew of umpires I think I've seen in all my days of baseball. Outstanding in this crew this year.
Agree with you. And Steve Palermo, of course, that rating system they had last year, voted the best umpire in the American League. And the first pitch of the ball game to Brady Anderson is down and away. That's ball one. Brady Anderson trying to become the first 1,000 hitter in the history of baseball. He's 1 out of 1 this year.
And go on the DL and ask for a raise.
That's right. No one missing, down and in, 2 balls and no strikes. Anderson getting the start in center field.
In the lineup, the leadoff spot is one area that the Orioles have really changed. They've not had a lot of success the last couple of years, tried a number of different people. And Anderson, type of guy that you'll see right here, will look for a pitch and will take the walk. You're not going to throw strikes. Got good speed.
Well, he has done just that so far. He is way ahead in the game. No, and no one back to the plate right down Broadway. 3-1. Anderson leading things off. He's hitting in front of transferred Randy Milligan. First baseman last year, but with the addition of Glenn Davis now playing in the outfield some. Nolan's 3-1 pitch on the corner, 3-2. You know, Jim, it's an interesting point you brought up about the leadoff position. I think you can count on one hand the number of teams that have a real solid man in that leadoff spot. It seems like everybody is searching for a good leadoff hitter.
Well, I'd say in the American League you've got 2.
A surprise bunt charged by Franco. Nice play. Julio not taking time to get it out of his glove, just shoveled it over to Palmeiro. And Anderson out. Boy, that is a great play by Franco. A surprise bunt on 3-2.
And he realized because of the speed of Anderson, he has to use his glove to toss the ball. He doesn't have time to transfer it. You'll see here, he just go ahead, flip it with the glove. If you transfer it into the throwing hand and try to throw it, it's going to be too late.
So Julio Franco making an outstanding play. And Brady Anderson to surprise everybody. Out number 1. So Randy Milligan to the plate, hitting at .091 on this young season. And Nolan Ryan gets strike 1.
Well, the ball players in a good frame of mind today. The Rangers are down in the clubhouse, and I was just in there after they had a piece on the television about George Holyfield fight, and they were getting excited about the exchange that was going on there, and seemed to kind of loosen them up for today's game.
Well, no one getting loose here. 0-2 the count to Randy Milligan. Ryan working quickly. Big breaking ball. Just missed the outside corner. Nolan locking up Randy Milligan with that hook. Didn't get the call, but Randy Milligan's got to be saying, wow, it was close. And I had no chance.
And you got two ways of facing Ryan. You go up and you look for the fastball, and hopefully he doesn't have the curveball going that day. If that, you do well offensively. But if he's got that curve going like we saw that last pitch, it's going to be a tough day for the Orioles.
Fastball missing. Count evens now, 2-2. Randy Milligan, 5 walks and 17 trips to the plate this season. 2 offering. Popped him up shallow right center field. Julio Franco pointing up, and Ruben Sierra coming on to make a rather awkward looking catch. It looked like Ruben had trouble with a high sky here in Arlington. There are no clouds whatsoever, and that has to be really tough for an outfielder. That's one reason you saw Julio Franco pointing to the ball. Said, Ruben, there it is. It's up there. Ruben said, where? This was last night. Cal Ripken Jr.
And Cal showing the Ranger players last night what happens when you hang a ball on him.
One of the better mistake hitters, I think, in at least the American League, and Nolan misses down and away 1-0.
He's got a couple of home runs and 7 RBIs on the year, and that was from last night. Outstanding evening. A couple of pitches hung up in the air, and he did what any good hitter does when you hang it, and that's hit it out of the ballpark.
Breaking ball. 2 balls, no strikes now to Ripken. Well, Cal, 5 out of 8 against Ranger pitching. 7 RBIs. All of his RBIs coming against the Rangers in the first 2 games of this series.
I can see a good month.
Yeah. Some people will consider it a good career.
You've got to like the Oriole lineup a little better than last year. Last year, Milligan and Tettleton in the 3 and 4 slot. Combined, they walked over 200 times. That you don't want your 3 and 4 hitters to do. You want them to swing the bat. You look at the Rangers, Palmeiro and Sierra walked about 110 times. So you get them in that 3 and 4 spot. You got guys on base. You need to have them swinging the bat to drive in the runs. Davis is a great addition to this ball club and is going to allow a lot of support for Cal Ripken that he didn't have last year.
Nolan's 3-1 pitch. Inside, ball 4. So Cal Ripken draws the 2-out walk. And here comes Glenn Davis.
Number 37, first baseman Glenn Davis.
He thought he had. You don't see him come off the mound too much like that. Normally you see him with his hands on his hips, and that is about the extent of it. But when you see Nolan react like that, you know he's sensing a little bit of pressure and wanting that pitch.
Glenn Davis, 3 RBIs. 133 the mark. Nolan spins him around with a fastball. You remember on opening night, Nolan struggled early, and then something fired him up. Something got him going, and all of a sudden he struck out about 5 of the next 7 or 8 hitters that he faced and really overmatched some folks. Matter of fact, Cubs will never forget what he did.
Well, he has been the best pitcher that the Rangers have had since the start of spring training. He had a good spring. I think there's just one outing that he had trouble with his breaking ball. And he has had the best start of any of the Ranger staff at this point. The other night, just inconsistent, had quite a few strikeouts, but just had trouble, he was saying, getting, 11, 12, 13 batters in a row where he had got into some kind of a groove.
2 balls, no strikes to count. Cal Ripken, the runner at first, with 2 outs in the first. And ball 3 is inside. Davis checking Cal Ripken Sr. down there at third base to see whether the green light might be on. I would have to think the way things are going that he's going to have that green light glaring at him.
I think that's something Frank Robinson loved when he was playing, and something that he'd allow a guy like Davis to go ahead and do.
Pitch is high, ball 4. So a pair of 2-out walks. Runners at first and second now. And the Oriole DH, Sam Horn, coming up. So Nolan Ryan, after getting Anderson and Milligan out, walks Ripken and Davis. Now Sam Horn, who is hitless in the early going of 1991, 0 for 6 thus far. Quite a contrast to the way he started off 1990. A couple of home runs on opening day and really excited the Orioles about his production. Well hit right field. Sierra going back, looking up, goodbye. Now the walks come back to haunt Nolan in the first. After 2 outs, Davis walk, and Sam Horn goes after the first Ryan offering over the 380 marker in right center field. And just like that, the Orioles have a 3-0 lead, and the Rangers have not had a lead this year in the first 5 games.
Yeah, well, I have always watched as a catcher that when you walk a guy on 4 pitches, not to come right out and throw a fastball. I've seen it hit for home runs just like that a number of times, but I've never seen a curveball hit on that first pitch after walking a guy on 4 pitches.
Fastball popped up foul and back by Craig Worthington. Now the Rangers, not only have they not had a lead this year, they have been blasted in the first inning. Ryan back to the plate, and the breaking ball dips in and over. And Horn with a 3-run shot. Talk about extension.
Well, there's no doubt he was sitting in the on-deck circle watching the selection of pitches and thought, you know, he's bound to throw a fastball on that first pitch. I'm going to look for it and let everything get behind it, and he did.
2 balls, 2 strikes the count as Nolan comes back to the plate, and that runs the count full. So trying to keep this first inning going. If he does, Joe Orsulak would have a shot at Nolan here in the first. Petrali with the signs, the payoff pitch inside, ball 4. So Nolan now has 3 in this first inning, and Orsulak coming to the plate.
I'm going to go back and explain that a little bit more easier there. Glenn Davis walked on 4 straight pitches, and I was taught by Darrell Johnson years ago after we were at a game in Chicago watching Carlton Fisk catch as Tom House comes to the mound to talk to Nolan. And he said that it's really important that first pitch after walking a guy on 4 straight pitches to throw something off speed. You give something to the pitcher, something else for him to feel on the mound, the ball, the rotation. You get a little different feel for a pitch, and maybe he might throw it for a strike, and all of a sudden you come back to a fastball, and he's got the fastball. Yeah. And all of a sudden you that by throwing a different pitch. And from that point on, and probably for the last 7 years of my career, after a guy walked on 4 pitches, I always called for a breaking ball on the next pitch to a batter, and it always worked.
That's a good point. That's one of those little details that can be so important. Orsulak takes a good fastball to the outside corner. 0 for 3 on the season. The Rangers now have fallen behind in the first inning of all 5 ball games they have played, and they have been outscored 11-0 in the first inning alone. And Orsulak will end this inning by popping out, backpedaling, calling for the ball is Jeff Hewson, and puts it away. 3 runs on just 1 hit, 1 left, and after a half inning of play, Baltimore 3, the Rangers come. As we go to the bottom of the first inning, is time now for your Texas Rangers starting lineup, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Ryan Downing, the DH, will lead things off. He's followed by the shortstop, Jeff Hewson, and the first baseman, Rafael Palmeiro. Cleanup hitter is the right fielder, Ruben Sierra. Then second baseman, Julio Franco, and the left fielder is Kevin Reimer. Batting 7th and catching, Gino Petrali. Third baseman, Steve Buechele, hits 8th, and Gary Pettis in center, batting 9th.
And defensively for the Orioles, outfield left to right, Milligan, Anderson, Orsulak. And around the horn in the infield, third to first, Worthington, Cal Ripken, Juan Bell inserted today at second base, and Glenn Davis over at first. Ernie Witt, a veteran catcher behind the plate, and on the mound, Jeff Robinson. Robinson last year Tigers, 10-9 with a .596 earned run average. Pretty high earned run average for 10 victories. One of the reasons for that is he was played on the second best run scoring team in the American League, the Tigers, and he had the highest support of any team, any pitcher on that team last year. But one of the things about Ryan is he's slow getting started. He's erratic. He can have controlled trouble. And that really led to the highest earned run average in the first inning for an American League pitcher last year.
Well, the Rangers would like to capitalize on that. Now here's Brian Downing, the first pitch all the way to the backstop. So ball one. Brian Downing activated yesterday and got in the ball game, reached base 4 of his 5 plate appearances in that first contest. So a pretty good debut for the guy that has been called the Hulk.
Not really
having a ball club.
Oh, I'm really excited about the Rangers' acquisition of this young man.
Towering fly ball to left. Randy camped under it. One gone.
Not really young man, but happy to have him.
To us, he's young. Or at least you. No, wait a minute. Let's get this straight. So Downing skies out. Now Jeff Hewson battling a finger injury to hand back in the lineup. He came in last night, had a single and 2 at-bats coming in the ball game in the 7th inning. Rangers have had both Hewson and Jack Doherty down with similar finger injuries in the early going here.
That really has been the problem to the offense. You mentioned the injuries. A couple of lineups that they have put out there this week, that 5 of the spots to collectively average 18 RBIs apiece last year. So there's not a lot of support from 5 spots in the lineup. Causes a lot of pressure on the other guys. Sierra and Palmeiro have. Franco has struggled a little.
1 ball, 1 strike the count to Jeff Hewson. A 167 mark for the Rangers shortstop. Got a pretty good idea on that last pitch by Jeff Robinson just how much movement he can get on that fastball. Good and sometimes sinking fastball.
And Buzz, he said that's the one thing he's been working on more.
Got that one up, and Hewson said thank you very much. Jeff has the first Ranger hit of the afternoon, a solid single to right center field. So the bane of a sinker ball pitcher is one up, belt high or above, and Jeff Hewson glad to see Rob make that mistake.
And didn't get that sinker down there. You see it middle plate right up, starting to move a little bit. Nice head right on the ball. Got the bat through the strike zone very quickly.
Well, that's what hitters say when they're facing a sinker ball, or make him get the ball up, but more often than not that is difficult to do. Easy to talk, but Jeff Hewson, a pretty good example there of how you do it. Now the hottest hitter on the Ranger ball club, Rafael Palmeiro, at .412. 2 home runs, 4 driven in, and Robinson misses. Ball 1.
Strategy here from an Orioles standpoint. You look at Palmeiro, able with a man on first base to hit the ball between first and second, and with a sinker ball you want to try to keep the ball away from him, make him hit it in the ground soft, something to keep him from pulling hard. There's that pitch away, trying to keep it down.
Rafael Palmeiro last night taking one deep at Arlington Stadium, his 2nd home run of the year. He broke a string of 21 consecutive scoreless innings put on the board by the Rangers. 1-1 pitch from Rafael. 2-1 now.
Rafael just has really started off where he ended last year. Had an outstanding spring. He's been very confident. He's very relaxed at the plate. Just a joy to watch as a hitter. If the young kids out there watching, this guy has just an ideal swing.
You mentioned a very important word, relaxed. And I know that a lot of people who know Rafael Palmeiro know he's not a hyper person, but he is more relaxed as a ball player this year, the times we saw him in spring training in the first part of this season, than I've ever seen him before. Maybe he feels that he doesn't have anything more that he has to prove. He exudes confidence now, both defensively and offensively.
Well, you look, when he came over from the Cubs, there was a lot of criticism about his run production, a lack of hitting for power, and was not happy with his first year here. And so he started off last year thinking he had to prove something else again. This year, after last season, And he's a very established, good hitter.
2-2 pitch just inside, so the count runs full. Palmeiro, the number 3 hitter, to be followed by the Ranger right fielder Ruben Sierra.
You might notice the last swing or 2 swings ago, Palmeiro's hand slipped off the bat. In the National League, you can go back to the deck circle and get something to keep that from happening again. In the American League, you can't go back to the on-deck circle. You have to stay there and do the best with what you have.
Payoff pitch. Houston on the move. Sliced down the left field line. Fatal. Jeff Houston rounding third, being waved home, and Rafael Palmeiro cruising into second with an RBI double. Pretty good piece of hitting by Palmeiro. Tough pitch to handle. Rafael going with it and gets his 5th RBI of the season. Gets the Rangers on the board in the first inning. It's now a 3-1 Oriole lead.
You talk about relaxed here. His head down on the ball. Doesn't try to pull it. He goes with the pitch down the line. Good job. But watch his head right there. Boom.
So Rafael Palmeiro with his 2nd double of the 3-1 ball game now, and Ruben Sierra coming to the plate at .353 on the season. Ball 1. Ruben, a home run and RBI. That home run coming on opening night. Likes to hit against Jeff Robinson, apparently. Ooh, boy, he had a rip and a pitch out away from him that time and fouled it straight back. I think Ruben would like to see that pitch one more time. Last season.
Definitely more power. You saw the numbers from the left side here. Big leg kick. This ball, pretty good sinker outside the plate. Even though it was up, if it hadn't had that movement, you saw a lot of movement toward the fences.
Turn that stuff around real quick. Robinson checking Palmeiro in the 1-1 pitch. 2 balls and a strike.
Talking with Robinson before the game, I said, what are you doing different this year? Anything you're trying to change? He says, I'm really working on that sinker. I'm trying to get it to go down a little bit more so than what I've done in the past. Of course, the only way to make that work is to keep the ball down.
That does help. Hard to throw a sinker and be effective when it's up a letter higher. So it's interesting here with first base open. You know, you've got a 2-run lead. What do you do with Ruben Sierra? I've got to think now that you've fallen behind, you have to be a little careful with the right-handed hitter in the on-deck circle. Julio Franco, of course, still a very good hitter, but right-hander versus right-hander, a much preferable situation.
I think, too, early in the ball game, you have less of a tendency to do that. If this would be the 7th or 8th inning, you might, although that would be the go-ahead run to the plate.
I guess the point I'm trying to make here is if you get ahead of him, yeah, you go right after him. But once you fall behind, then you can't really give in to him, I wouldn't think, with first base open.
No, you still try to be very selective, even though you've got a guy like Julio Franco on deck who is not somebody you'd like to see coming up there with a couple of guys on.
Pitch. Hit toward short. Going to third is Palmeiro. Richmond's play is to first. And Ruben Sierra retired. Palmeiro moving up 90 feet. He's at third with 2 outs for Julio Franco.
There's a case for Sierra to be just a little more selective. That ball probably a ball 4. Now you got first and second. 1 out. Instead, you got a man on third and 2 outs. You watch this sinker moving outside. This pitch is a ball. Still tries to make a great effort. Sierra, a good bad ball hitter, a lot of times will get hits on pitches like that. That time it came up short.
Looked like he was just a little bit out in front of that, tried to pull that ball moving away, and the normal result of that is a ground ball that the Orioles got. Julio Franco, a 118 hitter, still looking for his first RBI. Ball 1 is down and away.
I think the greatest addition that Brian Downing brings to the club is the fact that now you've got Downing and Doherty, 2 guys that can lead off, and what happens is it brings Franco behind Sierra on a full-time basis, and that I think is going to give Sierra the type of quality pitches that he can drive home runs. Brian Downing is not Christopher Reeves, but Brian Downing really adding a lot to this ball club, and I like the fact that Franco's going to bat behind Sierra all year long.
Julio Franco backing out, but time was not called, so the pitch called ball 2 by Steve Palermo.
But what happened?
Franco saying, what happened?
Well, I think he thought that he would naturally call timeout because he was stepping out, but in that situation with the pitcher in a stretch, the batter has to call timeout. He can't leave any assumption there that the umpire's going to do it for him. See?
Supposedly, from the windup like that, once the pitcher begins his motion, the umpire cannot call timeout, even if he's asked by the hitter. Supposedly, although you see it called quite often. Just depends on who the hitter is. In any event, it's 2 balls and no strikes, and Robinson back to Franco. Check swing and an appeal, no. Ball 3. Mike Riley, first base umpire, said no. So advantage now, Julio Franco. Franco, a right-hander, a powerful left-hander in the on-deck circle, Kevin Reimer. Palmeiro at third with the lead, and the 3-0 pitch is down low, ball 4. So let's see now if the Rangers can't capitalize the way the Orioles did on some first-inning wildness.
Again, we're seeing kind of typical of what happens to Robinson in that first inning. He just has trouble getting into any kind of rhythm or any pattern. Thank you very much. All right.
Base runners. Turn them into. Now Kevin Reimer to the plate. Reimer hitting at an even 200, a home run, a couple of RBIs. Tying runs aboard here in the early going, and Julio Franco back with a headlong dive, kind of spun his wheels trying to get back to first. Bobby Valentine has said he was going to get Kevin Reimer a lot more at bats this year. I don't think you're going to hear Kevin Reimer complain about that at all.
No, and he's the youngster that's going to be compared as time goes on with Pete Incaviglia time after time. Probably not fair to, but the way the matchup happens with this ball club and who was going to be here if Pete was here or versus not, you continually look at Kevin.
Now you look for someone who has the ability to match the 25 home runs and 80 RBIs that Pete Incaviglia put on the board. Obviously, Kevin Reimer, and Reimer broke the cup end off that bat. He got that sinker away. The ball went straight back to the screen, and he had pieces of ash flying all over the place. You know, that's that cupped bat that some of the extra weight is taken out of the end of the business end, and sometimes you get a sinker like that working away, and all of a sudden the end of the bat shatters.
You blend that in with a couple of nice pieces of wood in the fireplace over the window, and it crackles and pops, and you get some good hot fireplaces.
You sound like you've had a lot of experience burning those things.
I've still got some left. May have for a couple of years.
Robinson's 1-1 pitch. Reimer a drive, deep right field. Orsolak going back at the wall. Goodbye. First time this year the Texas Rangers have a lead in a ball game, courtesy of Kevin Reimer.
Oh my, ball right down the middle of the plate, belt buckle high. Kevin says, I'm going for it, and with a favorable wind today, we got 3 more on the board.
Well, the Rangers jump out 4-3 now, and Gino Petralli, the hitter, takes one inside. Gino at 200, as you see, still looking for his first RBI of the year and first home run. Off-speed pitch, dips in and over, and it's 1-1.
We got a little bit different wind today. Had the wind been the same as it had the last couple of days, the wind probably would have held that ball up, but we got wind blowing a little bit out today. That ball carried.
Petralli slashing one, foul one out of play, third base side, 1-2. That home run by Kevin Reimer, his second of the year, measured at and 6 feet here at Arlington Stadium.
That matches all of last year's production. Oh, already equaled that.
1-2 pitch. Check swing, and he could not hold up. The throw will have to be to first by Ernie Witt. And the side retired, but the Rangers come up with their own in the first. On 3 hits and a walk. Nobody left. After 1, Rangers by 1. All right, nice going, Sonny. Good boy.
When you practice that 1,000 times over the winter.
Good. That man did good, too. Kevin Reimer. Got the Rangers out in front for the first time this year. A shot in the first inning. 4-3 Texas. Nolan Ryan will go to work against the number 8 hitter, Ernie Witt. Witt getting his first at bat of the season, and he looks at a pretty good heater about knee high. Strike 1.
A veteran hind catcher for a number of years with the Blue Jays, last year with the Atlanta Braves, and platoon player with Buck Martinez there for a number of years. That worked out very fine for the Toronto Blue Jays. An all-star in '88, and really one of the, I think, better is to have on this ball club. You've got a young pitching staff and a young catching staff, and this guy, what I told, has already made a difference with everyone.
Breaking ball. See you later. That Ryan Hook runs up the K's in left center field. That is 1 for the Express.
A nasty breaking ball up in the strike zone. It's one of those curve balls that it looks like it's going to be up out of the strike zone, and all of a sudden you catches the top part and see you later.
Now the number 9 hitter, switch hitting Juan Bell, getting his first start of the year. Side, ball 1.
An advantage that Nolan has, the fact that his curveball breaks so sharp that he gets by with it in a lot of different ways that other pitchers don't when you're up in the strike zone.
Bell skies one to center. Gary Pettis tracking it down in a bit. Now back and out number 2. You know, the thing about Nolan Ryan, it reminds me of the kind of curveball that Bert Blyleven throws, where you have such tight spin and the ball will break very late, and they both throw very hard curveballs, and a lot of times you can't pick up the spin because it's at least that has been my impression. You don't see the spin on the ball until it's too late.
No, you're right. In fact, I caught both of those guys. Another Sutton had a knuckle curve, one that dropped down very sharp too. So the 3 of those pitchers, very good curve.
Now back to the top of the order, and Brady Anderson. Anderson tried to bunt his way aboard in the first and was thrown out, or I should say gloved out, on a fine play by Julio Franco.
And Anderson's the man that the Red Sox hated to give up for Boddicker. Someone they thought was going to develop into a really fine player. He's got good speed in the outfield, good defensive player. He's yet to develop offensively.
Going back to the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Back in the first inning on a 3-2 pitch. Anderson tried to bunt his way aboard, pulled it to Julio Franco. A great play by the Rangers' second baseman to nail a very speedy Brady Anderson.
That has been a consistent part of the Rangers game here in this first week. Defense. You can look as he looked. Speaking of looking,
we'll see you later. Nolan punches out 2 in the second. A 1-2-3 frame. To the bottom of the second we go. Rangers 4-3. Bottom of the second inning coming up for the Rangers. Steve Buechele, the number 8 hitter, will start things off, to be followed by Gary Pettis. Brian Downing. 4-3. Rangers have out hit the Orioles 3-1. All the damage for both teams in the first. A couple of 3-run home runs. Sam Horn for the Orioles and Kevin Reimer for the Rangers. Steve Buechele, a .273, a home run and an RBI. Home run coming. Johnson going to work, and Boo pulls it foul.
Well, it feels good with a lead. Now you can take a little pressure off the pitcher and add a few more runs. I think the last inning probably did more to probably loosen everybody up. The one comment players have made is that look, turn around behind, and with the amount of injuries that the Rangers are having, everybody's putting a lot of pressure on each other. But this should change that around.
0-2 the count to Buechele. Yeah, it becomes not just a monkey on your back, it becomes a large gorilla after a while.
With a piano.
Yeah,
carrying a piano.
Robinson's 0-2 pitch.
Have you ever seen a monkey carrying a piano? It's a funny looking deal.
Can't say that I have, huh? But I'll bet it would be funny looking, yeah. High breaking. Stevens now at 2-2. Steve Buechele, of course, trying to get off the same type of fast start that he had in 1990. He was tearing things up off the best start of his career before that late April Eric Plunk pitch got him. Ooh, lost one to field. It's playable for Brady Anderson, and one gone. Before Gary Pettis comes up, we'd like to send our very best along, Jim and I, and of course our director Dave Burchett, to Josh Sherrard, young man, had an accident the other day playing baseball. We certainly wish a very speedy and complete recovery for him. Josh, we know you're a big Ranger fan, and hang with him. Things will get better. We like to see you out here and like to see you playing again very soon. Gary Pettis, a 1-11 hitter, and 0 for 8 from the left side. Takes Pettis hitting in that number 9 slot for Bobby Valentine here this afternoon, and ball 2 is up high.
Well, director Dave Burchett almost got hurt today. It's the second time in less than a year he's had to duck because of a twister coming close to him over in Garland. He got about 14 inches of rain today. Said he had a frog in one of his drains.
I didn't realize he was into frog raising, but that's all right. Pitch is just high. Pettis showing bunt, pulls the bat back, and it's 3 balls and a strike.
Gary getting a little more playing time here early on than probably expected. Going into spring training, Gonzalez being talked about as a center fielder, and with that injury, he's getting playing time.
And ball puts Pettis aboard with good speed, and 1 out. And the DH, Brian Downing, coming up. That is walk number 2 given up by Jeff Robinson. So Pettis at first. Rangers have been successful. Just 1 stolen base out of 2 attempts this year. Pettis has that 1 stolen base.
Robinson easy to steal on, has a big leg kick.
There he goes. Pitch is a strike, which throw is in the dirt, and Gary Pettis has stolen 2. Pettis not wasting any time.
It's a pretty good jump. When Robinson has had trouble in the past to holding runners on, you just don't waste any time. You got the lead, go ahead on the first pitch and take off.
Pettis now in scoring position. Second stolen base of the campaign. Brian Downing up there with a count of no balls and 1 strike. Step off move as Juan Bell, the second baseman, with the bag at second.
And before the year's up, Ranger fans are going to love Brian Downing. Here's a guy who's got his hands still swollen, a little black and blue, and he wants to play. Worked very hard to get ready to play, be activated the other night. This guy is
The day after he was invited to the Ranger camp, of course, he was hit in that minor league inter squad game on the right hand. Suffered a small fracture. Time called, no pitches. Steve Palermo, the home plate umpire, walking away.
Yeah, basically really strange. It looked as if in December and January they opened up the vaults. All of a sudden somebody discovered the vault was open at the end of January and closed it, and some strange things started happening. Candy Maldonado, leading home run RBI guy for Cleveland, ends up only getting an invitation to the Milwaukee Brewers club. Brian Downing sitting at home. He had good numbers last year, the time that he played with the Angels.
1-1 offering, high and inside. I think what you're going to start seeing in baseball is, I guess you could call it a polarization of salaries, where the superstars are going to get Obviously, Dwight Gooden, Rod Clemens, people like that are going to get their money. Jose Canseco, Ricky Henderson, if he ever is able to get it together. But then you're going to find people in that middle category having trouble finding jobs unless they can really produce. Tendency to go toward the younger player who is less highly paid.
That's what's going to happen, and you're going to have veteran players released that are going to have to come back and sign for lesser amounts of money in order to stay in the game.
Robinson's 3-1 pitch down and in, and Downing is aboard. Second straight walk given up by Robinson, the third on the afternoon by the Oriole right-hander. And Jeff Houston coming up. Action now beginning down the left field line. Former Ranger Paul Kilgus up and throwing.
A problem the Orioles had is in their pitching staff last year. Also, offense, we talked a little bit about that. When you look at the Orioles, the last 3 years, their first-round draft picks have been pitchers, and 2 of those guys are with the Orioles. Of course, one on the DL, McDonald, and Olson, another one that's outstanding stopper in the bullpen. So the Orioles have been working very hard to try to increase their pitching. It still has been a problem.
Jeff Houston, a run scored his first time at bat, takes down low, ball 1. So Houston, who hit 240 last year, 1 out of 1 today, and Al Jackson, the pitching coach, coming out to have a chat with his big right hand.
That might be the end of it. I'm sure that Frank Robinson says, Al, get out there, stall some time, go out, talk to him. He takes a slow walk out to the mound. Might be saying, look, we're probably going to make a move here. We're going to wait a little bit, maybe give you a little more time. Or if you don't straighten around, son,
yeah,
you got the hook before too long.
Now you've got, of course, the left-handed hitter Houston at the plate, then another left-hander to follow, Rafael Palmeiro, a switch hitter in Ruben Sierra. I would think if Robinson loses Jeff Houston, that he will be rather have Kilgus facing Palmeiro than a wild Jeff Robinson. Well, that conference concluded. It did take up quite a bit of time to allow Kilgus to loosen further. 1 ball, no strikes to count. Runners at first and second. 1 out in the bottom of the second. Rangers trying to add to their 4-3 advantage. Timed pickoff play at first, but nothing going. Toby Harrah, the Ranger first base coach, keeping an eye on Glenn Davis, who tried to duck in behind Brian Downing. Robinson has the sign he wants from Ernie Witt and delivers a strike to the outside corner.
You might wonder why that last one wasn't a balk. Actually, what he did, he stepped off first and then faked. Or he stepped off with his back foot, then fakes to first. If he hadn't stepped back of the rubber and just faked, it would have been a balk. But stepping off saved it. The right thing to do.
Robinson, 1-1 offering. Houston slaps it out of play. Well, it might have been interesting. First baseman Glenn Davis, of course, not holding Downing on with runners at first and second. And unless Davis gets to the bag before Robinson makes a move that way, it's a balk no matter if he throws or not.
You're right.
It becomes an unoccupied base defensive player. 1-2 pitch. Breaking ball inside. Boy, that I can remember doing that one time, and I will never forget. I thought I was the biggest lunkhead in the world. I just forgot that my first baseman was not holding anybody on. I turned to throw over there and just had to lob one behind. The umpire says balk. Yeah, I went blank, as I tend to do quite often. But
I never thought you did. But you wonder, Robinson here, why in the world he's concerned about the runner at first base. I think it shows that maybe he's just kind of flustered. Why would you first and second, 1 out, to be worrying about the runner at first?
Count runs full now to Jeff Houston. So we'll see what Bobby Valentine does with Gary Pettis at second, Brian Downing at first, a full count and 1 out. Rangers have that 1-run lead. We'll see if they try to get aggressive on the base paths. Robinson checking Pettis. They're both going. The pitch up the middle. Ripken to Bell in the dirt and a dig out by Davis for the double play. So the Rangers had it going, but just didn't work out. 6-4-3 twin killing. Rangers are gone. They strand one. To the third we go. It's still Texas by 1. Orioles come to bat here in the top of the third inning, trailing by 1, and Nolan Ryan, who has struck out 2 of the last 3 he has faced, throws up and in to Randy Milligan. Milligan flying to right field his first time up. Ryan back to him. A fastball 2-0.
I like what Frank Robinson has done with the lineup, the way it blends a little bit better than last year. Milligan hitting 3 and 4. We talked about that earlier. Now they insert him in the second spot to take advantage of all of the walks that he has. Get on base for a big powerhouse with Ripken and Davis hitting behind him. And Sam, Dwight Evans. Pretty good power numbers, too. He hit over 20 home runs last year, and had he had a full year of at-bats in, had a shot at 30.
Ryan's 3-0 pitch, 3-1. Well, Milligan, his brief Oriole career, has 167 walks in 237 games. That's a pretty good ratio. Foul back on a play, 3-2. If you run that out over a 162 game season, it would figure out to about 128 walks, and that is a bunch.
And also what happens, you got Billy Ripken normally batting 9th. He led the Orioles in hitting last year. After the first time around the batting order, actually Ripken becomes a leadoff hitter and Milligan's number 3. So you can kind of look at the way the lineup blends. It has a good feel to it. Milligan able to be there to be on base, or yet he's still taking advantage of his power.
Going, throwing strikes, and Milligan fouling them off. He's the number 2 hitter. He will be followed by Cal Ripken. And again, the payoff pitch from Nolan. That ball is ripped to left field. Backing, and Reimer reaches up and makes the catch. Now, Milligan got a lot of it, but it stayed in the ballpark, and that is 1 out here in the third inning. Well, last night, there were not too many balls that Dave Winfield hit that stayed in the game, in the ballpark. How about 3 home runs? Matter of fact, he homered his first 3 times to the plate. Also doubled, had an RBI single, 6 RBIs on the night, and that 15-9 Angel win over the Twins in the Metrodome. Cal Ripken had a pretty good night last night, too.
Well, Winfield loves middle school up there. In fact, I played against him back in the early 70s. He was a pitcher for the University of Minnesota, played some basketball, outstanding athlete, and he had a night in the Metrodome. Well, he has recovered from back surgery, being out of all of '89, and traded last year to the Angels. And if you look at Winfield's second half numbers last year, double digits in home runs and over 50 RBIs. So he is back.
And he has some help, too. The Dave pairs, Dave Winfield and Dave Parker over there. 1-1 pitch. Inside, 2 balls and a strike to Cal Ripken. Ripken last night, we talked about his evening. 4 out of 5, 7 RBIs. Pretty good evening.
The problem Cal had last year was hitting with men on base. So really what they were saying, that he was very over anxious. Pitchers were not giving him anything to hit, did not have any support behind him. In fact, he had tons of opportunities to drive in runs and yet was not effective. And I think that is not a typical Cal Ripken type hitter. Very good hitter with men on base normally, and that's why the deck right there is going to add a lot to Cal Ripken's year.
Glenn Davis is going to help anybody that he's hitting behind. 3-1 pitch to Cal Ripken is down and away, ball 4. So Cal Ripken walks for his second time. And that is Nolan's 4th walk on the afternoon as Glenn Davis walks to the plate. Let's take 5 seconds here for station identification. This is the Texas Ranger Baseball Network. Great afternoon in Arlington, and even make it better, Rangers on top 4-3 in the third inning. Ripken first, 1 out. And Glenn Davis, who also walked, is the hitter. Nolan throws that breaking ball, and Davis fouls it off, strike 1. Glenn Davis, one of the best fastball hitters in all of baseball. I mean, if you throw him a fastball, I don't care whether it's up, down, in, out, he's going to have a good rip at it.
Well, Nolan him off with a breaking ball. Nolan played with him with the Astros, same team, and after watching a guy day after day after day, you get a pretty good idea of how to pitch him.
0-1 pitch. Pop foul, and that got a play.
You notice that fastball was away from him. I think in a year and a half I played the National League. The one thing about Glenn Davis was you don't throw him a fastball middle in, that he can turn on it. Ball right here, you see Petralli set up outside, and well, he had a rip at it.
He does not get cheated. Kind of reminds me of Jack Clark in that respect. You see something with a little smoke on it, and both of them come out of their shoes.
Well, both of them, right-handed hitters, can wear out a third base dugout with some shots in there.
Shot to center field. Pettis in a hurry. He's going to have to play it on a bounce, and into second goes Cal Ripken. Well, Glenn Davis able to reach out and poke that pitch into center field. That is just the second base hit of the afternoon for Baltimore. Runners now second, still just 1 out, and Horn coming up.
Really, the balance was off, but he able to get a pitch that he could fight out into the outfield. Not one of the better pitches for him to drive, but very good piece of hitting. Didn't try to pull it, just go with it.
Gives you an idea too of how strong he is. Kind of a one-arm swing that time, and still hit a pretty solid line drive. Sam Horn broke an 0 for 10 streak back in the first inning. A 3-run shot deep to right field here. That put the Orioles on top. It was a short-lived lead, however. Rangers came back with 4 of their own in the bottom of the first.
He's one of 5 guys that adds a lot of power to the middle of this lineup. Oh my, you take a look at Milligan, Ripken, Davis, Horn, and Evans, and last year they combined for over 100 RBIs, around 110 home runs, and probably capable in the lineup at a full-time basis, probably 130. You think is possible in Baltimore, in the American League, where the fences are shallower down the lines than the National League, and him being a pull hitter, he's going to hit more.
Could be 2. Great stop by Franco to Houston to Palmeiro. Oh, my heavens. Julio Franco turning in the second stellar defensive play. Instincts here in the third, starting a 4-6-3 twin killing. Julio from his knees to Houston to Palmeiro. No runs ahead, 1 left for Baltimore after 2.5. Now for the bottom of the third inning, and boy, the Rangers have really thrown some leather, mostly the left. Julio Franco at the Orioles this afternoon, a couple of outstanding plays. Maintain that 4-3 lead. A note for you about Nolan Ryan, by the way. By completing the third inning today, he becomes just the pitcher in Major League history to reach the 5,000 inning mark. Nolan now has pitched 5,001/3 innings in his career.
Imagine how many pitches that is when you consider the pitches between innings, before a start, spring training, pitches between start. Makes my arm hurt. I don't know about yours.
My arm always hurts. Rafael Palmeiro fouling one off. Rafi had RBI double and himself also in the first inning. He came around to score on Kevin Reimer's 3-run home run that put the Rangers on top. 1-2 the count. Middle of the Ranger order here against Jeff Robinson in the third inning. Count evens now, 2-2. I guess you could figure it out probably. I'm sure Nolan's averaged close to 20 pitches per inning, considering how many people he's walked and struck out. What's that, about 100,000 pitches right there? That's just during the ball game.
You've got to think probably 5 starts in spring training where you pitch at least 5 innings for how many years? 20 plus.
Shot toward the gap in left center, and nobody's going to be able to get that. Knocked down by Milligan, but Rafael Palmeiro, his second straight double of the day and his third on the year. Palmeiro continuing to use the entire ballpark.
And that's the one thing that really he has continued to stay with and not try to do it and pull the ball all the time. He goes with the pitch. And here, in order to be a 300 hitter, you've got to use all parts of the field. And he has shown that today.
Well, Palmeiro at second base. Nobody out. Ruben Sierra coming to the plate. And again, action down the left field line. Once again, left-hander Paul Kilgus up and loosening. He was up in support of Robinson last inning. Ruben Sierra grounded to shortstop, his only at bat today. He takes a sinker down low, ball one.
You know, the strategy here becomes very important. Sierra, being the hitter, wants to pull the ball, hit something hard to the right side. Robinson's going to try to keep the sinker ball away from him.
He kept that away from Sierra for ball two. Ruben last night, by taking the 0 for 5 collar, broke his 3-game hitting streak. Still a good day to start a new one.
He'll probably try to do with Ruben here what Robinson did the last time, which is make him go after a bad pitch. You know, with first base open, you got Franco coming up next, who hits a lot of balls hard on the ground, easy to double up. You'd be very selective with Sierra, make him go after one of your pitches. Julio getting it ready.
Yeah, the situation now has changed since the first inning when you had first base open and Sierra at the plate. Now you got to make sure with a deficit that you don't give in and make that deficit even larger. Robinson's 2-1 pitch. It's sharply up the middle by the diving Juan Bell into center, a base hit. Palmeiro around third, coming in to score the 5th Ranger run of the afternoon. Ruben Sierra, his 2nd RBI of the year.
Did a very professional job of hitting. You're talking about pulling the ball. He takes a pitch that's really trying to go down the way. Ball on the outside part of the plate, gets out in front and pulls it. And just by chance, you hit it where a fielder's not, and you got an RBI.
Well, that's going to do it. Skipper Frank Robinson there, and he has signaled to the bullpen. Paul Kilgus, the left-hander, will come on to replace Jeff Robinson. And while the pitching change is being made, we'll take a timeout on the Rangers Baseball Network.
And with nobody out here in the 3rd inning, runner at first, the Rangers ahead by 2. Frank Robinson has gone to Paul Kilgus. Paul in his 3rd appearance of the season, giving up a couple of hits in just 2 2/3 innings. And a little finesse lefty. The Rangers saw him a few years back. Fastball, sinker, cutter nature, a curve and a change. Out of the Jamie Moyer, like Jeffcoat mold. And to mix it up, turn it over, trying to get the hitters to hit the ball into the ground.
So Paul Kilgus on now. He will be facing Julio Franco with Ruben Sierra at first. Nobody out here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. First pitch is down low, ball one. Julio Franco struck and scored in the 1st inning. Rangers now 5 base hits. They lead 5-3. Jeff Robinson gone after 2+ innings of work. Snap throw to first and Ruben back. Robinson 5 hits, 3 walks, and 1 strikeout. He's been charged with 5 runs, and of course Ruben Sierra at first base, his responsibility. Those are Paul Kilgus' numbers as a Ranger. 87 and 88, 14 and 22 the mark. Pitch inside, it's 2 balls and no strikes to Franco.
Julio before the game said he felt like his stroke was coming around. Swung the bat better yesterday. Of course, I don't think anybody's really concerned at Franco's average at this point in time. A steady 300 hitter. Only the first time in many years last year he didn't hit 300.
He had a pretty good shot at that Kilgus pitch and fouled it back for deck on the first base side. Now last year at 296. Still scored almost 100 runs. He had 96 runs scored. Drove in 69.
And you're looking at the all-star second baseman in the American League. unfortunate. Good deal that Tom Grieve and the Rangers got to bring him over here.
Gilgis with a 2-1 pitch, and again out of play down the right field side. So the count even at 2-2. Now we've talked over the last couple of years not only about Julio's contribution on the field, but also the influence that he has had on Ruben Sierra, and I've got to think that's going to carry over to the influence that both Ruben and Julio have on Juan Gonzalez. Dealing with an awful lot of talent in those three men, and I know they all feel comfortable with each other, and that certainly makes a big difference. Talk a lot about baseball, a lot about pitchers, and
Julio felt that, hey, I'm a veteran. Part of being a veteran is to pick up the in different areas, encourage other people. Ollie Valentine's even gone to the extent of saying that, hey, Julio might be a good manager sometime.
So a full count to Franco with nobody out. Sierra at first, awaiting in the on-deck circle is the home run man, Kevin Reimer. See if Ruben Sierra is going on this pitch. He is. Got a late break, a chopper to short. The only play, though, for Ripken is to first, and Glenn Davis to go up the ladder a bit to make the catch and get back on the bag. Well, Sierra in scoring position as Franco out 6-3, and Kevin Reimer coming up. Last time up, Kevin Reimer with home run number 2 on the season, a 3-run shot, and that got the Rangers lead for the first time in a ball game this season.
Might be the fastest time around the base paths for a home run this year. He was excited.
Gilgis checking Sierra, and the pitch down low, ball 1. Now 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. Breaking ball way outside, 2-0.
When you look at the Rangers' potential full-time DH situation, Reimer coming from the left side, Downing from the right side, they should be able to put up the kind of numbers that Incaviglia had. I guess for one, though, don't like it. I have to say it there. I said it. I think the team is going to miss Pete.
Kevin Reimer given the responsibility of trying to fill that void, along with Brian Downing, along with Jack Doherty when he gets healthy. Popped up third base side, foul territory in pursuit. Craig Worth right at the railing, and he can't get it. It's 2 rows back. Counts 2-2.
The Ranger Ball Club, if you take a look at them, I think in evaluating the offense, it has a chance of being a better offensive club than last year. When Franco and Sierra can put up probably better numbers than they did last year. Palmeiro probably the same. If he'll probably improve. Gonzalez in center. Doherty able to put up the same numbers that Baines did. You look at this club offensively, I think they can put up better numbers than last year. And you figure you take the pitching into consideration, they'll be a better club.
Breaking ball, and Kevin Reimer couldn't do anything with it. He looked at strike 3, so Gilgis has his first strikeout. 2 gone now, and Gino Petralli coming up.
As time goes by, Kevin Reimer is going to see more of this. The home runs he hit have been on fastballs, and when you put him in a high exposure role, coming off from a job of being on the bench, full-time role, he's going to get a lot of exposure. People are going to see the pitches he's hitting, those that he's not, and before too long, nothing but a lot of off-speed pitches.
Interesting thing, like any young ball player, to see the adjustments he's able to make. Gino Petralli 0 for 1. A strikeout victim back in the first inning. Chops this one slowly first base side. Davis goes to the bag himself, and Petralli's retired. So are the Rangers, but they come up with another run on 2 hits. Strand 1. And we have finished 3 in Arlington. It's the Rangers on top of the Orioles 5-3. And the Rangers move to the top of the fourth inning. 5-3. Rangers on top. They have out-hit the Orioles 5-2. Home run playing a big part in this game. A 3-run shot in the first by Sam Horn of Baltimore. And Kevin Reimer matched that. Run shot of his own in the first. 5,001 career innings pitched by Nolan Ryan. And he's still going strong. Greg Worthington takes strike one. Worthington walked his first time up. It'll be Worthington, Orsilac, and Witt here in the Orioles inning.
Well, after a pretty good year a couple of years ago by Worthington, a little disappointing last year. Inter spring training fighting out the third base job with Leo Gomez, and because of an outstanding spring, Worthington came out on the top end of it.
1 home run, 58 pitches, 32 balls.
Gomez stands to be who is one of the better looking young power hitters that's coming up. He had some good numbers. The Baltimore organization looks to be one of the guys on the bubble when they start to bring back Ben McDonald and Malacky. Malacky being sent down to the minor leagues to get in a little bit of not have a good spring.
Ben McDonald, we had a note today going down to the extended spring training camp for the Orioles to get some work in. Ryan's 2-2 pitch. Popped him up right field. Ruben Sierra almost in his to catch for out number one. So Craig Worthington is gone, and Joe Orsilac coming up. Well, a note for you on Ricky Henderson. Stolen base pursuit of Lou Brock. Now on hold. Henderson, of course, with 937 stolen bases career-wise. He is just one behind Brock. Henderson has not played in the last couple of Oakland games, and he probably will not play until at least tomorrow night. He has a strained muscle in his left calf.
You said it happened a few years ago. There wasn't too many games I didn't see him play in.
Well, he probably had a strain, and even though when he saw your name in the lineup as catcher, he said, I'm playing.
I'm going to have to live with that for years. Every time they throw that up there, I mean, no matter what newspaper,
anything on
there, I'm right there at the top.
Thing about Ricky.
And the only comeback I have is I played in more games than two other guys.
Well, that's right. Yeah, you had a lot of opportunities. I mean, a lot of chances. That's like a guy that loses 20. You know, a pitcher loses 20 ball games, and well, you sent him out there. He must have been a pretty good pitcher. 0-1 pitch now. And Orsilac backing away from an inside pitch from Ryan. 1-1.
There was something up when he kept sending a limo to the hotel to make sure I got to the park.
Yeah. Orsilac would probably rather see someone than on the mound. Fouls this one out of play. Although Nolan, as Jim mentioned, has really struggled over his entire career against the Baltimore Orioles. 5-16. And has not defeated Baltimore since way back in 1976.
Well, that's team that we were talking about earlier that the Orioles had through all those years. As we get strike out for the second out of the inning. Not only a good team, but the Orioles staff that they used to put out there. Jim Palmer, Mike Cuellar. I think there's a couple other ones. The Dobson.
Thad Dobson.
McNally. That's a pretty team to beat going into Baltimore land.
Especially when you had Boog Powell and Bobby Grich, Mark Belanger, Brooks Robinson, Paul Blair, Ernie Witt, a strikeout pitch in his first at bat.
At Ernie's first pitch, you kind of looking back at the umpire. Guy's not getting a good shot at the game right there, you know.
He's taking care of something a little more important. He's putting those Ks up. Keep track of Nolan's punch-outs here. 0-1 pitch. 0-2.
He's a little overmatched there with this break early in the season. Well, haven't had a chance to play. This is the first at-bats I get. And what do I have to do? I get to face Nolan's curveball.
On kind of a glary day in Arlington Stadium. Just outside, a ball and 2 strikes.
showpiece right there. Comes out, gets ahead with a couple of curveballs, shows him the fastball on the outside part of the plate, and it wouldn't surprise me to see another curveball here.
Get the hook out there.
You were right, and it surprised Witt.
Nolan gets his fourth of the afternoon, his second 1-2-3 inning. Orioles go down in the top of the fourth inning after 3.5. Rangers by 2. That's the story through 3.5 here at Arlington Stadium. Rangers by 2, and Steve Buechele will start things off. Second time Boo has led off an inning today. He flied to center field back in the second. Kilgus out there delivers that tailing fastball for strike 1. 1-1 the count.
That first pitch to Buechele kind of reminds me here Boo's trying to be a little more selective and going to get up there and take a pitch the first time up, and Kilgus throws one right down the chute right in his power place.
Pretty good breaking ball that time, an advantage Kilgus. 1-2. Now, Boo had a good night last night, 2 out of 3 with a double and a home run. His first round tripper. Kilgus back to the plate. Look out. That breaking ball boring down and in on Buechele. Got him. So Steve on down to first base. And Kobe Harris said, don't rub it. Boo says, nah, you can say that. It didn't hit you.
I think the most vulnerable parts on your body right there around the knee. Boy, there's not much meat, and it hits all bone. Looks like the inside of the right knee or just above the right knee.
Ouch. You get Dr. Bobby Brown's signature tattooed on your leg. So Buechele aboard now, the number 9 hitter, and that's Gary Pettis. Showing bunt, pulls the bat back, and it's strike 1. Pettis turning around, hitting from the right side now against the left-hander, Paul Kilgus. Pettis with Dave Oliver down there at third to see what Bobby Valentine has in mind. Pettis, as you note, walked back in the second inning. Ollie relaying the signs from Bobby Valentine to Steve Buechele and to Gary Pettis. Rangers with that 2-run advantage might be playing for that one more run. Good bunt by Pettis. Kilgus gives way to Craig Worthington, and he fires over to Juan Bell, the second baseman covering. Sacrifice goes 5-4, and sliding into second in scoring position now is Steve Buechele.
I really think a good move when you're having trouble scoring runs, and even though you've got a 2-run here, you want to try to take advantage and get as many as you can. Pettis with an outstanding bunt does the job, gets the runner over.
Boo explaining to Cal Ripken where he got hit and how bad it still hurts. Not getting much sympathy from Cal Ripken. So, gee, that's too bad, Boo.
I play every game.
That's right.
Whether I get hit
for a long time. Brian Downing 0 for 1 this afternoon. Downing skied to left field his first at bat, then walked in the second. Ranger leadoff man last couple of games. Downing with that wide open stance as Kilgus comes home. Downing, a drive deep left field. Back goes Milligan. Goodbye. The Hulk got a hanger and didn't miss it. That is his 1,900th career